Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. You know what time it is. Every couple of weeks, we go racing with the over 40 crowd in the V8 Veterans Championship presented by RaceKraft Simulations. The 19th season of this championship approaching the latest stages. This is round 8 at Suzuka. I'm really looking forward to this round. It's going to be a fun night of V8 racing around Japan's premier racing circuit. Bringing it to you all live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner. Dan Yeaman is alongside me and also handling production behind the scenes. Dan, Suzuka. What more can I say about this track that I haven't already said over the years? It's just incredible. Certainly going to be a challenge in these V8 touring cars.
That it is, Reese. After having had a chance to, we spoke with the drivers in the podium interviews last week at Sonoma, and they were definitely saying this was going to be an interesting one to say the least. But yeah, an incredible circuit with some great history. Of course, most known, well, to me, most known for, of course, the Formula One Grands Prix that have been held here over the years since it sort of became the preferred venue after the tussle back and forth with Fuji Speedway for a period of time. You can see here, not too far outside Osaka, and sort of actually not that far away from Tokyo itself as well, of course, so in a well-populated area of the country, and actually not too far away there from the ocean as well to boot. But yeah, one of the also great unique circuits of the world, making itself obviously that claim to fame with that figure 8 configuration here.
Yeah, indeed. And if there's one thing that defines Suzuka, it's those turns and the flow of the circuit. You know, the first sector, you're barely spending any time going straight. You get no opportunity to rest. Even coming out of Degner Curve at turn 10, you've only got a moment to rest before the Nissan brake hairpin. Turning all the way through 200R, Spoon Curve, always difficult in any type of car, let alone a 1,500 kilogram V8 beast like what these guys are racing. Really, your only opportunity to rest around the lap is the stretch up to 130R. And in terms of overtaking opportunities, there's only a couple that are really going to work 9 times out of 10. And those are the run into the final chicane, potentially coming into turns 1 and 2, and the hairpin at turn 11. Aside from that, it's likely going to be follow the leader, unless you're on super fresh tyres.
Yeah, that will be another point to watch out, of course, during the course of the race. They'll have their 2 compulsory stops to make, of course, so we'll maybe see some different strategies play out as well. But yeah, making sure you manage your tyres and finding some way to utilise them going long, that will also be valuable. And speaking of that race information and the like, here it is for you now on screen. So 35 laps to round the circuit gives us just a hair over 200 kilometres in scheduled race length, and well, with nearly 3 hours in the server to do it, we should be getting there. Well, there's no hail or sun, no rain or hail to interrupt us tonight, Reese, so it really is going to be to the distance. For those who care about the championship and the classification requirements, 27 laps tonight you must complete to score your points here in Split 1. 50 litres of fuel to start the race off as well, but the full tank available to them in the pit stops for refueling. So we're looking at almost a full tank of fuel needed to make it home tonight, although you've still got to split that over 2 stops, and because of the longer race distance, we do have some options in that pit window to give us some flexibility as to exactly how things are going to play out tonight.
Yeah, indeed. This is how it might stack up for the majority of the field. Basically, you've got the option of taking both of your pit stops very early and running all the way to the end from lap 11. But tell you what, 24 laps around Suzuka on one set of tires in these things is going to be a very tough job. So I'm personally not expecting many drivers to go for that. I think it's more likely we're going to see the blue and yellow lines in this graph come to the 4 drivers pitting, you know, more in the middle to late race, just trying to preserve the tires early on, run that 50-litre fuel tank cap out, and then go to the end from there on another stop. There's quite a bit of wiggle room, I would think, but it's a very long lap here at Suzuka, so you've got to be careful of how much fuel you're using. 4.25 litres per lap at max. 4.4 litres a lap at max. So, yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye on your fuel gauge.
Yeah, in fact, actually 4.4 Reese, a bit of a conservative value. Actually, I'll come back to this little one here again. based on the information I was able to dig up. So 4.4 is probably on the low side for a faster lap. You could easily push beyond 4.5 litres a lap around here, threatening even 4.6. But generally with the way that the cars stay close together and the fuel saving being important, we generally see drivers in this series when it comes to the actual race being on the lower side of the fuel calculations. But yes, then in comparison, you want to start stretching that fuel tank longer if for some reason that works out for you tonight. Yeah, and you've got to look at going down to sub 4.3 or even down into the 4.2 bracket to be able to be making extra laps on a tank of fuel here tonight.
Yeah, so I don't know how many drivers are going to be going for a mega fuel save strategy like that, but maybe it'd be worth it if you're back in the field and you've got someone to slipstream down the start-finish straight and the run up to 130R. Definitely going to be an interesting strategy race here tonight, but we should probably check out how things stand coming into this round of the championship. The main question on my mind, Dan, is can anyone stop Scott Gamble? He has been pretty much the dominant driver this season, and the likes of Ken Latta and Chris Miller have been able to get close to him, but never quite overcome him.
I mean, to be honest, Scott's been in some of his best form that we've seen him here in the V8 Vets Championship since we started covering Split 1 back in season number 14, Reece. And yeah, honestly, I think it's going to take Scott really putting his foot in at something wrong for things to change right at the top of the order. His championship gap is up to 37 points coming into tonight's race, and that's easily more, well, given the fact, again, he gains... it's 4 points more than second place for winning the race, who in turn earns 3 points more than finishing in third, and then third earns 2 points more than fourth, and it's 2 points per spot further on back. He's looking at basically having to finish sort of in the mid-teens or even high 20s, low 20s, to actually be in a position to probably threaten the championship. And if that even happens, that likely then puts him in a spot where that'll become one of his drop rounds, and he'll gain back points at this stage where the drop rounds are still in flux.
Yeah, indeed. These standings are with drop rounds so far counted. And yeah, at this point, really, every competitor is hoping for an absolute disaster from the 9.5 Sim Sports driver to actually stake their claim towards the championship. But nothing is impossible in racing, certainly not V8 racing on the iRacing service. In terms of biggest movers and shakers, well, I'm looking at Tim Nicol there. It's been a pretty torrid run there for Tim Nicol. Hopefully he can get some momentum back in this round, but fantastic jobs from Travis Hunt and Paul Burns to vault themselves up the order.
Speaking of Travis Hunt, whilst we've got him there as one of our biggest movers after round 7 coming into tonight, that's definitely been important for him because it puts him just on the outside of the top 20 bubble, since the top 20 here in the standings by the end of the season will be invited back to Split 1 without needing to go through requalification to make it in. But you can see there that we have a lot of drivers inside of the 20, but they are not very far inside, with the fact that we've got 3 drivers there, single point margins clear of the cut line, which is currently held there by Michael Stewart in the Hypersonic Racing in his 919 entry, who in turn has actually made up some good spots here after round 7 to actually be in a position to be on the cut line. Travis Hunt there, you can see up 8 spots, but still nearly 60 points outside, making it back in automatically with only 3 races left in this season.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a tough job for Travis Hunt to vault himself up there into the top 20, but again, it could happen. There's certainly infinite possibilities for how these races are going to work out. In terms of the race to come, qualifying has just concluded, and we'll be able to see very shortly how things stack up on the first laps here at Suzuka.
Yeah, that we will indeed. In fact, what we might do is actually see if people are getting themselves out there on track and have a look at how things are playing out at stage. Indeed, everyone's starting to file on out of the pit lane, including the safety car as well. But we might pick up some of that footage here from warm-up now as they cycle around. But yeah, we'll get to the grid here in just a second, as we should be able to pull that up basically any time soon. But there you see it. Drivers will get their eye in now. I've got 5 minutes to sort of settle in. In saying that, static weather conditions in the V8 Vets, so they don't have to worry about changing conditions as the server plays out. You can see there 18 degrees air, and it's settled in at 20 degrees track with very light cloud cover and no winds or humidity to worry about as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of drivers will be welcoming that nice, cool track temperature because, the nature of Suzuka with so many flowing turns, particularly in the first half of the lap, the tyres are really put through the ringer around here, and it will be very easy to overheat them. Otherwise, it's going to be nice and easy to keep those tyres down in the optimum temperature range. Let's go through the grid while we have the time. Scott Gamble, no surprise, has taken pole position by nearly half a second over Jeff Thomas, who has had a fantastic qualifying performance there in the number 43. Michael Whiting for Fishy Motorsports will start in third alongside P2 in the championship, Kenneth Latter. Christian Smart, meanwhile, in the 999 is going to start out of fifth spot alongside WKNP SimSports' Dean Flavell. That is another excellent placing there. Dave Kirby is going to start out of seventh alongside Craig Friend for Old Mate and Sons. And then we round out the top 10 with Jason Fewens and Stewie Hall. Looks like a bit of a jumbled top 10 compared to what I've usually seen in this series.
Yeah, 100%. This is very much a different looking top of the field, that's for sure. So credit to drivers like Jeff, Dean, Craig and Jason here in particular, probably some of the ones that maybe, and Stewie too, have made big moves for. But you can also see the field spread tonight. Well, with the exception of Scott Gamble, the spread is tight. But yeah, the fact that we've got 10 cars and we're already a second off what Scott was able to achieve in qual is definitely foreboding. But nevertheless, Paul Warwick, Greg Sharp, first cars outside looking in that top 10. They'll start out of 11th and 12th place respectively. There in those Commodores. In behind, it's going to be Travis Hunt. We'll hopefully check in with him across the course of the race. He's one of our usuals on Zoom, and he's back again tonight, sharing row 7 with Jay McKnight in that 027 next to our Fishy Motorsports entries. Michael Stewart also here on Zoom tonight. We'll check in before the race here with him. Starting out at P15, he's got Dan Hall to his outside there in 16th place for the ERT for 62. Tim Nicol, as you said, that unfortunate, very rough race last time out at Sonoma, but rebounding to a P17, so solidly in, or still in the top half of the field here tonight. We'll see how he can do in that number 23 Quantum Pecky's racing machine. He's got Michael Quain alongside another driver who's certainly looking for a better night after some rough times out in previous. The top 20 going to be rounded out by Troy Stonestreet in that 044 for WKMP Sim Sports, with Robbie Griffiths on his outside for Fishy Motorsports there.
Yes, indeed. Chris Funky Miller, meanwhile, third in the championship, starting outside the top 20 alongside Stephen Varga. Damien Cairns, meanwhile, starts the number 88 out of 23rd place alongside Damon Fisher. And we have Scotty Van Loon, one of the race committee members, starting out of 25th place alongside Scott McCune for Hypersonic Racing. McCune is a driver that we focused on quite a bit this season. Has been involved in many interesting fights. Chris Blanchard will start alongside Paul Burns for the 14th row, and then we got David Nash and Rick Vigor rounding out our top 30.
Indeed we do, and that's almost it in terms of drivers who have set a qualifying time here tonight. Darren Goosey, Mark Poynton, 31st and 32nd, and actually, you've seen there in the chat, Tim Nicol didn't race at Sonoma at all, so that explains why he dropped down the order. Something fierce there. Thanks for the update, Tim. Sorry we didn't quite jog our memories on that one properly there. But our last two cars set qualifying times in the grid. Rob Crisdale and Ricky Hyde to make it 34 drivers with a time, as we'll get rid of that one there in the type of shot. But they're not the full field here. We've got a couple of cars back of the grid who are going to start, we presume, but no times set. Mike Taliancic, after a, couple of weeks absent at the start of the season, is back again here tonight, Reese, but not qualifying. Sees him start out of 35th place with Brendan O'Brien alongside him in P36. And what it looks to be our final car back on his own lonesome will be Chad Lewis for ERT in the 727 Commodore there.
Yeah, no surprise to see that Mike Taliancic hasn't qualified. He's actually been quite open about that. He's been not qualifying on purpose just to see how far he can make it through the field. And he sort of made himself almost ineligible for our Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day award. We've got a full Zoom wall here tonight. Dean Flavell, of course, with his vital stats up on screen. Jeff Thomas, David Kirby, Michael Stewart, Travis Hunt, and Jason Fewens. We'll hopefully be getting a chance to check in with all of them at some point throughout this 35-lap race. This is going to be a very hard slog for a lot of these drivers, and yeah, we'll be waiting and seeing how it all works out. Reminder of the race format for tonight. You got to finish 27 laps in order to be classified in the points. The drivers will be starting with a fuel load of 50 litres, but other than that, setups are pretty much open in this series. Aside from that, we need to keep an eye on those 2 compulsory pit stops. We're expecting drivers to take tyres at both stops, because why wouldn't you at a track like this? And, well, as long as they take their second stop by lap 10 or lap 11, they'll be able to make it to the end. But we're not expecting anyone to do that. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Dan, making a set of tyres last around Suzuka for that long is pretty much an impossible task in these cars.
It's going to be one heck of an ask, that's for sure. So just waiting on the grid timer to run out now. We've actually basically got ourselves all settled in nice and early here. So basically just going to wait the clock out. As a question, either a statement or a question, I haven't quite figured out which that is going to be from Joe Mahoney, but indeed, yes, the reason they're all starting with 50 litres is because it's a fixed setup provided by Jamie Knight here in the V8 Veterans. So that is why
my apologies.
They are capped there. Otherwise, they certainly, because otherwise, yeah, they'd basically be stuck in a way that they'd be. How to put it this way? If I was stuck at 50 litres to start the race and it wasn't fixed sets, they'd only have 50 litres, and then our strategy would be very interesting and a lot of short sprint runs, to say the least. Of course.
Yes, my apologies for that error. I should know by now, having commentated a few rounds of this series. I do so many series that are like, oh, it's fixed, oh, it's open, oh, no, this one's fixed, and it all blends into one for me at points. But man, what a beautiful place this Suzuka circuit is. It's certainly one of the most spectacular tracks on iRacing, and it provides spectacular racing no matter what category is crawling up to the start line, as this big field of 650 horsepower V8 monsters is. The timer hits 0 and the revs are rising. It is time to see what Scott Gamble can do. Will he be able to take another win in V8 Vets by RaceKraft Simulations? We are away. And it's a perfect start from Scott Gamble. Kenneth Latta getting a slightly better run off the line than Jeff Thomas, but whether or not he'll be able to make his way past in turn 1 remains to be seen. Round the outside, Thomas will defend the position on the inside, but Latta's still got some overlap coming into the S's, as the rest of the field looks like has made their way through turns 1 and 2 cleanly. Now it's time to get into the rhythm. The S's, these turns are never ending, and the way you enter the first one defines your exit all the way at the other end here at Dunlop Curve. Look at Latta. He's gone wide into Dunlop. He is eager to get past Jeff Thomas here into third.
You bet he is, as they work their way up into Degner 1 and 2 for the first time. So side by side here in Thomas and Latta. It will be Jeff who holds that on the inside through Degner 1 and then single file through Degner 2, but he's a little loose there as we run up towards the hairpin. Latta forces the door open as we come up to this little kink first of all, as they come up in here for the first time, and it will be now Latta to the inside, but Jeff around the outside going to try and hold it. No, the camber on the inside is going to surely give that one up. As all, there's been a massive check up there, back of the pack. It looks like Michael Quain, and I think that's going to be Michael Stewart, the first of the hypersonic racing cars there mid-pack. Otherwise, everyone else single file going to fill on through, and no, Jeff Thomas has held out around the outside on the exit of the hairpin by the time we get up here to Spoon Curve.
Yeah, straighter exit, earlier power delivery. Jeff Thomas has been able to keep third place for the time being, but you see how hungry Latta is. It seems like Thomas's exits, the car's a little bit unstable for him. Of course, fixed setup series, everyone's driving with the same settings, so Thomas just has to drive around that. Oh, Latta surely not up the inside at 130R. No, certainly that won't happen. But it could be a move here at the chicane, but the defense is still on here for Jeff Thomas. Conclusion of lap 1 of 35. Scott Gamble, championship leader, will lead the first lap.
Come on there, go Jeff all the way out wide to try and get as much of his power down as he can towards turn 1. As this time in to the inside goes Ken Latta, and looks like that's going to be finally job done here for third, or no. Still the outside's got some grip there for Jeff Thomas.
Yeah, but Latta is able to cross across the front of him and get it done for the last spot on the podium. Now Latta is going to be eyes forward. He's lost a lot of time to Michael Whiting and Scott Gamble ahead. Further back in the field, I mean, there's battles all the way through, but I'm seeing a three-car pack between Quain, Griffiths and Stewart. Two Mustangs and one Commodore fighting as hard as you like over 16th spot.
Yeah, they are indeed. It's been a very tightly packed start to this race as Scotty Van Loon, I heard him on the radio on lap 1. Unfortunately, he's dived into the pits off sequence, which will mean that that's a stop that doesn't count to his 2 compulsory required in this race. As you watch, it took Quain now, bit of legs on Robbie Griffiths there in the opening sector as we come up to the hairpin once again. And try and get the power down, and that's our slowest corner, of course, on the side. Well, actually, Casio Triangle would run a fair shout in comparison, given they're both fairly slow indeed. But up to Spoon once again we go with these 3.
Indeed. And seeing a bit of action in the area of Mark Poynton. It looks like Rick Vigor has had some troubles through 200R and has lost 26th position to Mark Poynton, who's been embroiled in this titanic battle for the lower positions in the field. Everyone's still so close here on lap 2. I would have expected them to be a bit further spaced out by now, but apparently not. Meanwhile, move up the inside at 130R. Troy Stone Street trying to get by Stephen Varga, and he's managed to get it done.
Oh, didn't quite catch us. Oh, there you go, in the background there. Is that Nash?
David Nash. Oh, okay. Well, he's off the racing line. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. And he'll be able to get back going cleanly, but man, that sucks for him. Looks like he was just forced onto the grass. It looks like Stephen Varga was trying to defend the position and just wheel dipped off the racetrack there for that driver. So it doesn't look like that. I don't know if there's going to be any penalties assigned for that, but I think it's a bit unlikely. It doesn't seem like there was much overlap there. So plenty of dramas all throughout this field already.
Yeah, indeed. It's been quite a crazy start to the race. And, well, here at the end of lap 2, compulsory pit window opens, and Dan Hall, who's just been on the radio about some stuff, also takes the opportunity to dive into the pit lane to try and fix things up there with the ERT 462, it seems. So it's going to be a lonely time on the pit lane there for him. Might try and pick up a couple of replays in due course as to how everything's come undone. But we've got some racing still out here on track. Starting with now the fight for P5. Dean Favell looking to try and hang on to the spot, but Chris Smart behind. Looking a little racy here as they head up towards Spoon. Dave Kirby, Craig Fender sort of dropped off here, so it's more a battle of 2 at this stage.
Yeah, these two have swapped positions. Christian Smart qualified in 5th, Flavelle in 6th, so Dean was able to get that move done on him right at the start of the race, it seems, but Smart is hungry to get that position back. Defensive for Flavelle into 130R, and this isn't usually a turn you can go side by side through, and, well, Flavelle recognizes that Smart is quite aggressive in these early stages and backs out of it. So Smart back into the top 5. Now he's got to try and catch up to Jeff Thomas, who has been left behind by Kenneth Latta. Now that 269, second in the championship, has gotten past, he is jetting up to the back of Michael Whiting.
Looking to make it another strong night out from some of the guys here at Fishy, and once again another really consistent couple of rounds here from Michael Whiting in particular. Got on the podium for the first time this season at Silverstone 2 weeks ago. We had a chat with him again. Actually, pardon me, no, we didn't quite get a chance to chat with him last week because Christian Smart was the Fishy car that joined Ken on the podium last week at Sonoma. But now it looks like it's going to be Michael once again here looking to have a crack at things. Here, currently riding in second, 1.5 seconds down on your race leader there in Scott Gamble.
Yeah, don't forget Whiting and Latta, part of the same squad at Fishy Motorsports, so they won't want to get in each other.